Just a week ago, I completed reading the first volume of Mein Kampf, and this made me think about the word differently. There were a lot of things said, but one particular thing caught my attention. Hitler's warnings if Germans don't follow what he says. Now, these warnings weren't a part of the same consolidated single chapter that was directly said, but rather subliminally conveyed in isolated chunks. So I'm gonna be using them as Hitler's predictions for Europe because European culture is quite the same, and more to the fact that Europe is facing the same ramifications he warned against to the Germans. First was the consequences of artificial birth control. At one point of the book, he was discussing the issue of how Germans should expand their race, their blood, without having geopolitical obstacles. During that time, an increasing population was a serious problem for the whole of Europe because they don't have enough land. Moreover, he mentioned that how France is making a big mistake by artificial controlling the birth by so-called awareness. He said this artificial method of controlling the birth rate is completely against the law of nature, which promotes life, and sooner or later people adopting this mechanism of controlling the birth would find out when nature would turn against them for not aligning with it. Today, not only Europe but also countries like South Korea and Japan are facing the same peril. And to know how much dangerous this condition in Europe is right now, watch this clip.
Europe will fall in the next 100 years. I don't think the world is overpopulated. I think we're underpopulated. In order for civilization to maintain itself, it must have a fertility rate of 2.11 kids per woman. Historically, no culture has ever reversed a 1.9 fertility rate, okay, historically. And a rate of 1.3 is mathematically impossible to reverse. Where are we right now in Europe? France, 1.8. England, 1.6. Greece, 1.3. Dead. Germany, 1.3. Dead. Italy, 1.2. Dead. Spain, 1.1.
Even though his solution of handling the increasing population cannot be applied today, which is to increase the territorial boundary of a country via wars, he undoubtedly got the first part quite right. Now, the second sort of prediction he made was the constant threat of Russia. Scrutinizing his words, you will see a racial hatred towards Russians, and he also called them subhumans. But he genuinely believed that Russia would always be a constant enemy, a constant threat to the existence of Europe. Soviet Union, even after the World War II, was a looming problem for Europe. 7 Days to the River Rhine was a top-secret military simulation exercise as a part of a series of Warsaw Pact war plans in Europe. It depicted the Soviet bloc's vision of 7-day nuclear war between NATO and the Warsaw Pact forces. This war plan, if executed, would obviously happen in Europe and would have killed at least 2 million people instantly in its inauguration. But even after the collapse of Soviet Union, conditions entered soured. And now the possibility of World War III. Europe against Russia is quite inevitable. If the world has to witness a major war between Russia and Europe, then chances today are sky high, up to the roof. Finally, last but not least, the bashfulness and the meekness of the Europe he also predicted is a problem to be handled seriously. He thought that it is completely against the law of nature, which promotes survival of the fittest and is ruthless, to be too soft. He feared that this so-called softness would make Europe to make wrong decisions and wrong policies out of hollow sympathy, which would fire back at them. He was also critical of Christianity, which according to him was feeble and too soft. Well, he was quite right about it. European decisions about the influx of migrants, especially illegal, giving asylums, soft laws that sacrifice millions of lives for the sake of a single person, and Christianity losing billion adherents via atheism and thousand more are the consequences of unnecessary softness which are stabbing them in the back.